Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Financial Fofu podcast. This is being dropped in conjunction with episode 4 as part of celebrating the release of Sarah's new course. 3 new episodes.
3, 4, and 5, all
3,
coming
4,
out
and
today.
5.
Yes, the Better Business Owner course is now available for you to purchase. Head across to helixplan.com.au courses and you'll see it in there. You can buy it as individual modules or as a bundle for a 20% discount. Amazing discount.
Very excited.
And for those smart people that joined the pre-registration, they all got a coupon for half price. So, you know.
Oh, I wish I was on that list.
We are talking about something today that I've been aware of for a really long time. I did a lot of work on it personally years ago, but it seems to be creeping back into the psyche of business owners at the moment and becoming more prominent right now. It's always been here, and that is poverty consciousness. Poverty consciousness is also known as scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
So it is a really interesting subconscious pathway that we usually have where we fear not having enough. So we hoard and we hold on to things and we make really shitty decisions, to be honest, because we're so worried about not having enough money. You only found out the name of this recently though, Trudes, yeah?
Yes, but when we started talking about it, I could give examples of where I've definitely seen it. But I looked up the definition because I'm sure there's lots of people like me that haven't necessarily heard of it before. And one of the ones I found was that poverty consciousness is a belief that there isn't enough of anything to go around, not enough money, enough time, enough planning, leaders, clean air, rest, love, all of those sorts of things. And I reckon that most people could probably understand that concept at some point in their lives with some aspect of their lives, that they've probably felt an element of poverty consciousness.
Yeah.
But the flip side in the context of business.
Yes, specifically business here, right?
Specifically business.
We often talk about how business impacts personal life and choices and thought pathways impact your business life. And this is one of those personal pathways and thought processes are seriously impacting your ability to do business. And the opposite of poverty consciousness is abundance consciousness. And again, that has full spectrum of people that just spend money on shit that they don't need at no rhyme or reason and you can't control them.
Because they think the money's just going to keep coming.
Correct. But you also
must have one of those money trees out the back somewhere.
Yeah, if someone has one of those, can you please tell me what you feed it with? I would really like to know. The thing with that side of that is that if you spend money willy-nilly like that, maybe it's not abundance conscious and it's consciousness and it's actually another form of poverty consciousness because you're trying to buy something else with that money that you think you can't keep because there's not enough of it to go around, right? So it's actually like an onion. I'm going to quote Shrek. There's layers. There's lots of layers to this. So this can take years and years to unpack. I think the first point is awareness and recognition. This is one of the themes of one of our modules because poverty consciousness is a serious impact to your ability to do business, do business well and do business well fast. Yeah. A lot of the time you see on groups, like if you had one thing that you could do in business, if you were to start again, what would it be?
Oh, I see that question all the time.
That comment comes from those people having worked through to a point now where they have hindsight and recognition and maybe they're in a position where poverty consciousness doesn't drive their decisions as much as it used to, and they can say, I wish I would have.
Yes.
So I wish I would have, Trudi, what would have been yours starting your business?
I don't know that I have one.
Yeah?
To me, it's all just part of the journey and the learning process. I wouldn't have wanted it to be some perfect experience where every single thing was done right, because what am I going to learn from that?
True. Very, very true. And a nice way to look at the experiences that you have. But I bootstrapped my business from the get-go. So when I give this advice to people, I have been you. I bootstrapped my business because of circumstance, personal circumstance, and when I came out and started SFE loans on my own, I had been working for 2 previous brokers. One had been reasonably good to me, but not financially. The other one completely tried to screw me over. And one of the reasons I went and started my own business because I was a technical specialist that knew what I was doing and could do it really well and thought I can do it better than everybody else and in the process not screw myself over. What that meant, though, was that because I had been financially screwed over after taking a period of absence and traveling when I was 23 overseas, I didn't have any money behind me, which meant a lot of my decisions that I made were based on having no cash. And I tried to bootstrap and benchmark wherever I could and learn the knowledge to get ahead that way because I physically didn't have the cash. So I understand what it means to not have the money. I grew up in a household where we didn't have much money. My parents scrimped and saved to do the things that they thought was important. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't poor. There was always food on the table. We were always clothed. We had heat. We didn't have cooling. I will warn everybody of that.
Yeah, but it was also the 80s and the 90s. Not everybody had cooling in those days.
Exactly, right? But this is my point, though, right? Is back then things were different and they were just part and parcel of the deal. And so I did have a serious poverty consciousness because I had never been in an environment of an abundance. Yeah. And that was not my parents' fault by any measure of the yardstick. It was just circumstances. Yeah. On top of that, I'm one of 5 children, and 5 children cost a lot of money. So that has an impact as well. So when I started my business, I didn't have any cash. And if I could go back and change things around, what I would have done was taken a second job, which I had, but I would have saved that money and I would have used it for brand and marketing.
Yeah.
Because I was a technical specialist. I knew I was good at my job, but I struggled to get the business through the door in the sea of noise. And also I was young and female, which meant I lacked credibility in financial services according to other people's biases. I was fantastic at what I did. I still am fantastic with my knowledge piece. It is actually what sets me apart as a technical specialist in commercial lending, which then feeds into my business advisory. But other people didn't know that and they couldn't get past their own thought processes on it because I wasn't communicating and marketing myself in a way that demonstrated that I was a technical specialist. I should have done a proper brand identity and business strat. I should have had a business comms strat, and I should have had some money for marketing. Yeah. So in hindsight, I know that now, and people say, but you've got money to make it. Even if I had no money right now, you know what I'd be doing? Working for somebody else to make the money, to put it aside to pay for marketing. So when it comes to business and the decisions that we make in business, like you said earlier, it's not always about money. Perhaps it's about time.
Yep. And how many times do you hear a business owner say, I would do it, but I don't have time. I know I need to do that for my business, but I don't have time. And I've been guilty of that myself, saying I know I need to do these things to improve my business, but I don't have the time. When am I going to do it?
There is a local business owner I know in the area. I see him quite regularly, and he wants to grow his business. And he's got 2 young kids. And, you know, part of the reason people live where I live is lifestyle. They don't want to be working all the time, and we don't live to work. We work to live. And it's important that we remember that. Yes. But every time I say something, like if he's like, oh, I need to build some new clients, I was like, oh, well, consider I don't have time. Or what have you? I don't have time. Or I don't have time. And I was like, but do you really not have time? Yeah. You know, like everything he says to me is, I don't have time. And I'm like, everyone has the same 24 hours in the day, mate. Yep. Like, I get your circumstances aren't easy, but is time actually the issue here, or is something else going on that is creating a drain on those resources and you're not able to swing them around?
Which usually means that you're doing something that you shouldn't be, or the thing that you need having done is not necessarily something you have to do, but you just need to get somebody else to come in. There's ways of creating time, but it doesn't all have to fall on your own time.
But maybe it's not even that. It's like, perhaps you're not even organised in the time
efficient
that you have, and the efficiency issue is impacting your ability to do things. And someone said to me, oh, Sarah, you're probably too busy for this. And I was like, well, no, actually, no, I can make this work. They were like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, I use my time really well when I'm going to use it. Don't ask me to go collect the clothes that are on my bedroom floor, but you know, like the things that need to be done from a business point of view are really important. And I have been seeing it of late over the last 6 months with people wanting to start up businesses, and Someone said to me recently, can we please explain to the public that bootstrapping your business is fantastic to a point? At
Yeah.
some point in time, you need to have some money set aside to pay for services like marketing or a website or advisory
Or a proper structure.
a corporate entity, right?
Mm.
You need to have the money to pay for that, and you can't expect it to be done for free. So when we look at poverty consciousness in business, this is becoming a huge issue for people not wanting to spend money because, one, they don't have it. I get it. You don't have it. You can't spend it. That's probably part of the problem. Or two, you have it, but you don't want to part with it. And that is then creating other issues because you've got inefficiencies or you are not buying quality product, which then impacts your service and your customer experience. And if you continue to operate this way, what happens, Trudy?
The business is not going to work. It's not going to make the profits that it could be making, and it's not going to give you the lifestyle that you probably set out to achieve in
the whole
running that
reason
business.
you're in business in the first place, right?
Yeah.
We work for ourselves
one that I
because we want to
see that
control.
mindset is in farmers, because they're living
Yes.
from one season to the next, and they're like, well, I can't spend that money that I have because I don't know if next season's going to be a good season or a bad season. But if it's a successful farm, they can get to a point where they've had many successful years and they've got a build up of cash, but they're still not spending it because of this mindset of, but next year might be a bad year, but next year might be a bad year. Whereas they could be investing in new technology or equipment or all these sorts of things.
Farm to doorstep. Like,
right.
We've moved
new services, and that would then improve their businesses and improve the seasonality of their business.
And the next point goes, well, I don't know where to find that information or someone to help me. And then they find a service like you or me or somebody else, and then they go, I don't want to pay for that. That's too expensive.
Yes, we get that one. Well, both of us get that one all the time. And quite often I have people say, I know I need the help, but I can't afford to pay for it.
Yeah, all the time. I know I need you, but I just can't afford it, Sarah.
Yeah. And we must both admit that we do have a giggle sometimes when we do actually get to see the books and we see how much cash they have. And it's like, well, hang on, you do actually have this money sitting there. Totally your choice to not use my services. That's fine. But don't use the excuse that I can't afford it when you're showing me your books and I can see that actually you can.
It is actually demonstrating to me a bigger issue that you have serious poverty consciousness within your business model, and you're actually, most circumstances, doomed to fail now. So sometimes I just go, stop kicking the can down the road and call it for what it is now. Yeah. Because if you don't get a grasp and a handle on your poverty consciousness, it is going to impact every single thing you do. And if you are running your business in partnership with somebody else, whether it's husband, wife, girlfriend, whatever, or a business partner,
business partners,
family member, or just a friend, things like this have serious implications, because if one of you has poverty consciousness and the other one doesn't, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. If you don't want to pay your BAS, but the other partner wants to pay the BAS because it's a statutory requirement, business is not going to work. And at some point in time, there is going to be an impasse that you're not going to be able to pass. That's why it's called an impasse. Like, that is going to actually destroy your business. And if everything is tied up in it at that point in time, then it is of a position where have some foresight and broad scanning skills now. And if you don't want to change your poverty consciousness, at least cut your relationships and change the way you do business so that it's not going to bring down other people at the same time with you. And this particular podcast is possibly one of the more negative conversations we've had. But the reason we're bringing it up is because it doesn't have to be, guys. Like, this is something that you can change.
You can work on your mindset and switch that attitude that you have to money or time or whatever it may be. The other really common one that I see is customers. But there's not enough customers around and we have to compete with each other. And I don't like that they're doing really well, because that means they're taking all the customers, and where am I going to get the customers from? If they've got all the customers, where will I get mine? And one actually nice thing that I like about the small accounting community is that we'll acknowledge that there's plenty of work out there, and there's no need for us to compete with each other, because there is so much work out there in the accounting industry at the moment that
Yeah.
There's plenty of customers. There's plenty for you. There's plenty for me, and you have a different specialty than I do anyway.
And
Let's
it's
just call on
likely
each other to
that
help each
has
other out instead.
that has always been the case though, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not new information.
No.
It's just it's the same in the mortgage broking space. Look, there are some mortgage brokers that operate from a poverty conscious mindset. They don't want to share their information, and they like, you know, they're out, oh, someone's going to steal my customer or whatever. And there is an element of not that, but there comes a point where this is actually my IP. If you want my IP, you can pay for my IP, versus I'm worried that you're going to steal my customers because there's not enough to go around. But there's plenty of customers to go around, regardless of what you're doing.
Yeah, regardless of your industry or your type of business, there is plenty of work, and it's just about finding the right customers for you.
It's about how you communicate to bring the customers in, like everything we've been talking about so far in our episodes this season.
Our theme is communication, I think.
Communication. Because, I mean, but that is the theme that communication is the life thread that drives us all, personal life and business, how we communicate and how we choose to communicate. And a lot of people think now, especially with the rise of social media, well, you should know that, like I posted it online or whatever. And no, if you're not directly communicating and clear, concise in your communication, people don't know it. So yeah, it is becoming a theme for that reason. That is exactly where we're at.
If someone has gone, okay, listening to this podcast and gone, actually, you're right, I think that this is me and I have this poverty consciousness issue.
Yep.
What do we do next? Where do we go? Who do we talk to? How do we improve this situation?
It depends how much you want to own it, right? If you want to own it and just look at your business, then you have to look at the supply. And poverty consciousness is not about being inefficient in business, right? So I'm not saying spend money wherever you see fit, because time is money, therefore don't try and save money by finding a cheaper supplier. What I'm saying is that don't not do something because it's a little bit more expensive and then spend 5 hours going and doing the opposite to save some money because, you know, like, I don't want to spend the money here, so I will drive around Melbourne.
Yeah.
Spend 5 hours driving around Melbourne to get something that could have been delivered because I don't want to pay the delivery cost.
Yeah.
Right? What I'm saying is that be efficient in your decision-making process to make quality decisions that lead to quality outcomes for both you and your customer and your profit margin. And don't not spend money because you're worried that you're not going to make it. And if you use your belief that you started with, Trudi, it is the belief that there's not enough of anything to go around. Not enough money, time, planning, leaders, clean air, rest, love, anything you want or think and others believe that's important to you. Now, if that in itself resonates with you, you've actually got a bigger issue that you need to go get sorted, and it's not business related. Yeah. It's personal related.
It's personal, and it's mindset, and it's your approach to life.
So where do you go to get that support, right? There's a range of different ways that you can go and approach that. You can go and seek counselling with somebody that specifically works in subconscious brainwave pathways around this type of stuff. And there are people available that just do work on this. You can see a psychologist about the deeper subconscious things that are impacting your life. Yep. You can go and speak to a GP. You can get a mindset coach. You can get a leadership and a life coach. There are lots of things that you can do about it. You can download all of the free resources that are available online and invest 1 hour a week.
Lots of books that would talk about these sorts of topics.
Yes.
To help you work.
The first thing you can do is have an awareness. Is this me? And do I operate from this methodology? Now, as an accountant, Trudi, right? You make me laugh all the time. Trudi came to visit me with her girls over the Christmas holidays, and it was fantastic. And we went to a local fair. And Trudi does not have poverty consciousness, might I add. Trudi is very smart with her money, but she makes quality decisions based on return on that money. And it was starting to rain, and like we'd taken the girls as a local fair in town, and we bought the tickets online because we actually couldn't work out how to buy them at the ticket booth. But so we bought the tickets online, and we bought the tickets, and then we were like, all right, so the ticket, what are they, 25 each, and the rides individually were like $7 each. And Trudi was like, right, you all need to have 5 rides before we can leave because I have spent the money and now we need to get a return on it. That is not poverty consciousness. That is called being smart with your money. But as if you had said to them, and again, if you didn't have the money to take your kids to the fair and we'd gone and we only had the money for one ride, which is my upbringing, that's not poverty consciousness either if you've got 5 children. But if you've got enough money to buy your kids whatever they want and you go to the fair and you don't spend your money, that's poverty consciousness. And on the flip side of that, a story that I was told this morning, which is really, really relevant, it's not about how much money you've got in your bank account. It is about your mindset. And so what you need to do now is change your mindset. So have awareness, find some resources, do something about it, impart that knowledge into your life and your business, and things will change. Yeah. But I had a friend ring me and he was talking about a builder that he was doing some work with, and this guy owes a plumber for some work that's been done to these amazing penthouses. So you're already thinking, not short of a quid, why hasn't he paid him? He said he was told by one of their family members that he'd done work for that he doesn't need to work. We've asked him to close the business down because he's getting older, and why go through the stress of building in the current climate in Victoria? And that even without building, the income from the building company, with all of his investments and the money he actually's got, he earns $1 million a week.
Ooh, nice.
$1 million a week. That's 52 mil a year. 52 mil a year if you invested that at 5%. Like, so I've got to make sure I've got enough zeros on my calculator. You know, he's earning $2.6 million a year in interest alone. Yeah. So he's not short of money. He's refusing to pay the builder because he doesn't want to pay the builder yet. I'm sorry, the plumber doesn't want to pay the plumber yet. That's consciousness.
Clear poverty consciousness. He's just making a decision that I don't want to pay, but there's no real rationale behind it.
He doesn't want the money leaving his bank account. So, yeah, he's got some issues with the plumber, but he doesn't want the money leaving his bank account. Wouldn't you just go, pay the plumber, go away? It is a drop in the ocean. It's probably, if I divide that by 52, it's 3 weeks interest.
Yeah.
That he's earning 3 weeks interest on his money.
I do actually see that very similar sort of scenario play out with some people with their ATO bills.
Yes,
and you go, well, we're going to do it. We need to do a payment plan because you haven't paid it. And then, well, how much money have you got? And you sort of look at how much money they've got, and you're like, well, you actually have the money to pay it, or they have sufficient money to pay 50% of it, but they want to put it on this really long payment plan. It's like, but why stretch out this payment that you're inevitably going to have to pay when you actually have the ability to pay either it or a lot more of it right now?
Because they're worried if the money leaves their bank account, they won't be able to replace the money in the bank account. But the reality also is that money in their bank account is not their money. It's the ATO's money. And had they done proper business planning and cash break-even analysis and cash flow planning, they would know this.
But sometimes it really is. They've got the cash flow. The cash flow is not a problem. They, as you say, they just don't want that money leaving their bank account.
Because if it leaves their bank account, they won't have it. And so this is something to be aware of when you're dealing with customers too. Not suggesting that we all go out there and become, mindset analysts about does this customer have poverty consciousness. What I'm getting at, though, is if customers are dragging their feet on paying you, it may not be the service that you've provided or the products that you've installed. It may they may not have any issues with the work you've done. It may simply be, and it's not fair and it's not okay, but it may simply be that they don't want to pay you. They just don't want to pay you. Not because they don't think you deserve the money. They just don't want the money.
Want the money removed from their own bank account.
Their own bank account. So in my advice in that scenario is make sure you've got solid terms and conditions set up, and that you don't hesitate to send that email saying, if you don't pay me by this date in accordance with your terms and conditions, you now are receiving a late payment fee on top that's adjusted. Oh, and we're sending you to debt collection. You've got 24 hours to pay. Right? It's shit that you have to do that, but that's how people are in life. And unfortunately, they need to change your mindset, because if you're in business, all that does is build a reputation, and no one will want to work with you because you never pay.
Yeah.
And if you're working for a builder that never pays, stop. If you're working for a subcontracting and a professional service to an IT firm that never pays or drags out paying you, stop working for them. It's actually you're in control of this.
There is abundance of customers, and you can replace them with somebody else.
That's exactly right. So you will now, unfortunately or fortunately, start to see instances of this everywhere you go. And you'll be spending a lot of time analysing this. Don't get too hung up on it. Awareness is the first place. Have a look at how it impacts you and your business and what you can do to change that for the better. Because the small little increments of change you make move you closer to the dial of an abundance perspective. And that's really what you want. The more abundance you bring in as a vibration, the easier it is to attract it. That is literally the first law of mathematics and the law of attraction. Change the way you operate and the way you put it out to the world, and things will change for you. You will be surprised how quickly they do.
And if this is really resonating for you, we'd love to hear from you and share your stories and hear more how this episode may have impacted you and help you going forward.
Guys, we are growing at an exponential rate. Like, soon will be Joe Rogan. That's my prediction. We'll have as many listeners as Joe Rogan. But we give you the opportunity to help influence what we talk about. And I don't use that word in the wanky way that it gets used these days in terms of influencers, in the true way and meaning that it actually is for, is help us direct where we're going with the podcast and the topics that we cover, and then what educational resources we can provide you as well. And if you are interested in learning more about some of the topics that we've discussed in the last 5 episodes, jump online and buy the course that is available, the Better Business Owners course, because these are the things that we're covering off about how you get the right entity structures and how your mindset impacts business, and why nobody likes business planning, but it's something that you need to do and why, right? Make sure that you're quoting for profit. We do not live to work, we work to live, so make sure that you're actually living. And this is one way to achieve that. So any final words of wisdom, having learned all about poverty consciousness today, Trudi?
Not really. I just want everyone to go and reflect back on their own mindset and views of life, and how this may be impacting on or restricting themselves in their own business.
In business. Guys, we will see you in 2 weeks. Until then,
thanks.
Have the best time. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Financial Fofu. We really appreciate you tuning in and hope that you have subscribed to our channel. I just wanted to let you all know that the information and material in our podcast and any supplementary and associated information available is for general purposes only. It should not be taken as constituting professional advice from us, the podcast owners, and our special guests, and we recommend that you seek independent, suitable advice that is specific for your unique circumstances. Thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you next week. Please, please, please send us, use our link and send us any requests or any feedback. We'd really appreciate it. Cheers.